Hello friends, welcome. Friends, I hope that you have seen this headline in the morning published in Hindu Business Line which says capital expenditure may miss the budgetary estimate for the second consecutive year, but higher outlays are likely to be for FY26. Now the reason this headline has come and why people are motivated to do this kind of article is because the government is going to soon come out with their budget for FY26. We all know that the budgetary process is going to start soon, and by end of February the government is going to come out with a new budget. Now in that budget there are two important sub items. One is revenue expenditure, another is capital expenditure. Both these two buckets put together is aggregates into the overall expenditure of the government. Now, why capital expenditure is the point of discussion? Because capital expenditure is the investment in brick and mortar investment in the country, which leads to growth. Revenue expenditure is an item which takes into consideration daily activities. It does not result in long-term cash flow projections. It does not result in growth. The growth happens because of capital expenditure. Primarily, it happens because of capital expenditure. Therefore, the government has been extremely focused on increasing their capital expenditure because it can lead to sustained cash flow, sustained earnings, and sustained economic activity for a long period to come. Now, in order to tell you that how the government of India has been focused on this capital expenditure, I will take you through the CGS, the Controller Auditor General's account statement. So, it is right in front of you. This is the Controller Auditor General account statement, which I aggregate every month when the numbers come out. Now, I have a yearly time scale here and have chosen budgetary estimate to give you a sense as to what happened as far as the capital expenditure is concerned and how the capital expenditure numbers have changed over a period of time. These are absolute numbers in lakh crores, right? You see here, these are rupees lakh crores. It's important to know that. Now you see, this is the capital expenditure line item. You can see that on an absolute term, these numbers have changed significantly from 2.73 lakh crores in FY18 and FY25, the numbers actually have gone to how much? 11.11 lakh crores. So which is a very healthy sign, right? Therefore, it gives a sense to us that the government of India is extremely focused on increasing their capital expenditure, and that is going to give drive to our growth, the GDP growth and economic activity. Now, if the capital expenditure number are not to the mark which has been predicted by the budget, then it is a matter of concern, and that's why this headline is important. It says that it will miss the target. See, look at this. It is going to miss the target of BE, which is important, right? But the numbers are going to be higher than the previous years as far as the outlay for FY26 is concerned. Now friends, the reason I am doing this video is not to basically give you these facts which are right there on the table. I am going to give you something which you can't see, which is inherent, which is actually behind the curtains, very difficult to see, and therefore without understanding those facts, without understanding the data, you will not be able to appreciate whether this number increasing or decreasing is going to really add to economic value. So for that, what I had done was I did an article long back, and this article was published. This article which I published on 1st January 2025, right on the day of the new year. So the headline of this article says that the India's capex slowdown, material concern or accounting illusion. I have not done any video on this, but I was motivated to do video on this right now is because it is important to tell the facts to those viewers who didn't get the opportunity to read this article. Now, if you look at the subheading of this article, what this subheading says, DoT's capex shortfall, largely due to notional nature of spectrum cost of BSNL, has limited real economic impact. However, the slow infrastructure spending on critical sector like road transport poses significant risk on India's GDP growth. Now, many who have not looked at this number with lens will not be able to understand and appreciate unless I explain the details in clear terms. Now, in order to understand the various ministries' contribution to the overall capex, I would like to take you to the numbers which I keep publishing in my website, which is a snapshot of India's capital expenditure, right? You look at this. This is the Government of India's capital and revenue expenditure, which I keep publishing in my website as and when the CGA data is available. Again, I am drawing a year time scale. So you can see the data is available since FY18 till FY25. You can see that the same numbers from 2.725 lakh crores to 11.11 lakh crores. It is a budgetary estimate number, and you can see the contribution from various ministries, which is going to give you a sense as to what is going on. The first to contribute is roads and highway industry, where the numbers have significantly increased. You see how the numbers have increased to 2.722 lakh crores. Then railways, the numbers from 0.4 has increased to 2.5 lakh crores. Right? Both for Ministry of Highways as well as for Ministry of Railways, the numbers have stabilized. You see that for FY25, FY24 and FY25 numbers are right, though the numbers have increased, for the overall numbers have increased, but for these two ministries, the numbers have stabilized. You see that? Then we have got defense services. Now, if you look at defense services, there has been an increase, right? Significant increase from 0.86 lakh crores to 1.72 lakh crores. Then transports to state, means the Government of India does allocation to state for their capital expenditure purposes, and that has also increased significantly. Now, most surprising to you would be the Department of Telecommunication. This is the number 5 item. You can see that the numbers for Department of Telecommunication has increased from very minor 0.05 lakh crores to 0.845 lakh crores, which is 84,500 crores. For the FY25. Now you may say that, oh, this is fine. These numbers are very, very important because the Government of India has been spending a lot of money on BSNL to revive BSNL. You know that there were 3 revival packages for BSNL, which I have listed down in my article here. You see, here the article, right, where the DoT is spending money, and you will find that 3 revival packages for BSNL out there in the public domain, and huge amount of money the Government of India has pledged to revive BSNL to the tune of 2.5 lakh crores, right? Now the point here is that if 2.5 lakh crores of money has been pledged to BSNL, it is clear that a substantial part of that money which the Government of India is spending on BSNL on year has to be reflected in the Government of India's capital expenditure here, which is here. This total capital expenditure which I showed you, right? So the DoT's number which you see here has to reflect that. Now, how do you get a sense is how much amount of money is reflected in DoT on BSNL? For that, I'm going to take you to the Department of Telecommunication budgetary expenditure in rupees crore and percentage of total. So you'll see the Department of Telecommunication budget, which was in actual, so it is a revenue expenditure. Let me just take you to capital expenditure, which will give you a sense. It was as low as 3,328 crores, has risen from 3,228 crores, which is actual for FY22, to 84K, which is roughly 85K, which is the capital expenditure number of for FY25. Now, from where this money is coming, or where this money is being spent? Capital infusion to BSNL. See, 83K crores means all the money is being spent to BSNL. Now the question that will come to your mind, that is this real money really spent on BSNL? Is this amount of 83K crores which is being spent on FY21 is actual cost to the government, or it is notional? This is the most important point. The reason is that, again, let me go to this particular chart which I showed you right now here. Sorry, this chart. This is the chart, and what I'm going to do here is that I'm going to basically do a budgetary estimate percent of GDP, which will give you a sense as to what the reference levels are and how the spend have increased with respect to a particular line ministry. So if you look at DoT, let's look at DoT, focus on DoT. DoT spend or capital expenditure was 0.029% of the GDP, has increased to 0.26% of the GDP. Whereas road transport, which is 0.29% of the 0.2, you can say 0.3% of the GDP, has increased to 0.86% of the GDP, and the overall capex have increased from 1.59% of the GDP to 3.41%, which is exactly the point of the headline here. You see, 3.2 to 3.4% of the GDP, right? So these numbers are pretty clear here, right? If you see here, these numbers are clear. So what do you see here? You see that there is a substantial exponential increase as far as the capital expenditure as far as DoT is concerned, Department of Telecommunications, because rest of the line ministries, the capital expenditure has increased, but it's more or less stabilized. In case of roads and highway, actually it has fallen a little bit. In case of railways, if you see the numbers in railways, it has also fallen. Capital house for defense service is stable. Transfers to state definitely has increased, but the DoT numbers have actually increased substantially. So the government of India is solely dependent on, you can say largely dependent on Department of Telecommunications, BSNL, for meeting its capital expenditure number for 11.11 lakh crores. Do you agree by looking at these numbers? Now, you have to really understand this one important fact is that this 85 lakh crores or 85,000 crores is this a real expenditure or it is a notional expenditure? Because this number of 11 lakh crores, right? Again, let me just go to the budgetary estimate number. Budgetary estimate, the 11 lakh crores, if out of this 11 lakh crores, if a substantial number is notional, then this number of 11 lakh crores does not make any sense. And let me tell you, friends, that this 85 lakh crores, because the government of India has been spending on DoT large amount of money. So if you look at from year FY23, FY24, 85, 25, if you add all these things, right? 0.85, 0.7, 0.3. It kind of tantamounts to roughly around 2 lakh crores. I am 100% sure that this is the amount of money is not the cash flow out of the government coffers. Because government, nobody can spend 2 lakh crores on BSNL and achieve nothing. Right? It has achieved nothing. So what is this money all about? This money is nothing but spectrum cost. Spectrum cost. And which is nothing but a notional item. Because government does not gain anything out of spectrum. BSNL is not going to pay a single dime to the government on spectrum. So this money that has been shown here as a part of the 11.11 lakh crores, this 85k crores is spectrum, largely spectrum cost. There is definitely some portion of it could be something else, very little. For example, equipment spend, etc. The equipment that 4G equipment BSNL is deploying, but that's very fractional of this overall value, right? And then there is a large component of this is also a revenue expenditure, which is not as high as 85k crores, like pension, giving voluntary retirement, etc. So what you should do is you should look at this article. If this article gives you a very good flavor as to what is going on, the real cash flow to BSNL. So you will see that the overall package, right, which is around 2.4 or 2.5 lakh crores. Let's give you the breakup. Spectrum allocation, 90k crores, notional, the money circulated back to the government. AGR dues, 34k crores, notional, converted into equity. Capex funding maybe around 22 or 25k crores. It is actual cash flow, right? VRS for employees, yes, this is actual cash flow. And viability gap funding, it is around 14k crores, equity infusion. So the question that comes to my mind is that 11.11 lakh crores capex spend of the government, if largely notional, which is not the money spent by the government, because if the government were to auction this spectrum in the public domain, do you think that the government will be able to collect 90k crores? Because there are no demands in the market. There are lots of spectrum which is lying unsold in the marketplace, and you will keep putting spectrum, those will get unsold. So in real terms, this number 90k crores is not the actual number. It is substantially lower than this. The economic value of the spectrum is substantially lower than this. Therefore, this number which the government of India has put out in the budget of 11 lakh crores is actually highly dependent on DoT, and the large proportion of this number is notional. So let's understand this, that this is not the right. So there are a lot of actual expenses which the government of India is doing. What are those? Road transport. Yes, a lot of money is being spent on road transport. Railways, this is actual money being spent. Defense services, actual money being spent. Transfer to state, I don't know how much of it is actual and how much of it notional. But from DoT point of view, I can tell you with guarantee that these are largely notional. So this number is not 11 point. This is definitely has increased. The numbers have increased over a period of time. No doubt about it. I am not questioning the government intent to raise the productivity of our country to enhance our GDP. But there is a portion of some level of cushioning which is happening because of notional number, and that is why, that is the main reason, because if you look at the actual spend by the government of India in rupees lakh crores, you will see that these numbers have fallen. Let me just do a quarterly time frame. Then you will see that if you see the corresponding year quarters, let me just change my pen. Corresponding year quarters, right, for the financial year FY24 versus the corresponding year quarters of the financial year FY25, the capital spend numbers were largely lower. For example, in FY24, the corresponding year quarter number was 2.7 lakh crores, and this year quarter was 1.18 lakh crores. The corresponding year quarter in FY24 Q2 was 4.9 lakh crores, and this year 4.1 lakh crores. And the corresponding quarter was 6.7 lakh crore, and this year 5.1 lakh crore, though this is just November data. December number is still there, and you will see a correlation with the DoT spend. Can you see this? The DoT spend numbers were like this, and this year it was nothing. That is why the numbers have gone down, and railways are also responsible, but largely the numbers have fallen because of the DoT's lack of showing those numbers in the books. I don't know why they have not done it, but I can show you that this is what is going on. It is not possible for DoT to spend 2.5 lakh crores in actual cash flow. It does not happen. It will not happen. It is largely notional. A substantial number is notional, and that is why this number has not been reached. And that's why this headline which you see here in the current business line article is kind of resonating with the facts which I am telling you. Though the reason cited in this article is given that one of the key reason of lower capex is the mode of contract during April-June quarter, the current period. No, it is something else. This reason is not correct. Okay. So thank you, friends. I hope that you understood why the story behind. See, my attempt has always been to give you the story behind the numbers, because the numbers tells the story. But if you do not deep dive into it, look at the nuances which goes against all these numbers, you will never be able to unlock the real story. And that is my attempt through these videos, to bring you the real story on ground. So I hope that, friends, you have liked this video. I'll come back with a new video next time. Thank you for watching, and thanks a lot. Again, thank you very much.